Good morning, distinguished guests. Good morning, our distinguished guests and fellow audiences. Thank you for joining us for the second day of the International Symposium, celebrating 9 decades of the National Central Library. I'm Yijun Ye, editor of the National Central Library, Taiwan. Before our meeting gets started, please kindly turn off your cell phone or switch it to vibrate so as not to disrupt the meeting. Thank you. Today, we will begin with the third keynote speech of this conference. I'm honored once again to introduce the Director General, Dr. Shuxian Zhen Shuxian of the National Central Library, to be the chair for us. Please note that there is no Q&A session during the keynote speeches and all subsequent sessions. Unless when it happens, it happens. Welcome, Dr. Zhen.
Thank you very much. Good morning, our distinguished guests and all our guests, not only from abroad, also from Taiwan. Thank you very much. It's my great pleasure to moderate today's keynote speech. We are honored to invite Dr. Guanghua Chen to give a keynote speech. So it's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished keynote speaker. Dr. Guanghua Chen, 你的那个从出生开始，我就省略了。He received a bachelor degree in 1986, master degree in 1991, and a PhD of computer science in 1996, all from National Taiwan University. He joined the Department of Library and Information Science at National Taiwan University in 1996. Currently, he is the University Librarian of National Taiwan University, Director General of National Taiwan University Museum, and the President of Library Association of the Republic of China, Taiwan, and the Chair of Taiwan OCLC Governing Members Consortium. He has been the chair of OCLC Asia Pacific Regional Council and the president of Chinese Interlibrary Cooperation Association. His research interests are information retrieval and evaluation, citation analysis and evaluation, natural languages processing, digital humanities, and linked data. He has published more than 150 research papers and 4 book titles, 5 patents, and other publications. He is also the member of Library Association of Republic of China Association for Computational Linguistics and Chinese Language Processing, Chinese Association of Library and Information Science Education, Taiwanese Association for Digital Humanities, and the Institute of Information and Computer Machinery. Today, he will share us with a new horizon of academic libraries, data services, and advanced analysis. Now, please join me to welcome today's keynote speaker. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here It's my honor to present some idea of National Taiwan University libraries. I would also like to thank Director General Zheng for introducing me. Here shows the outline of my talk. In fact, information technology have impacts on almost every field. For library, digital technology presents new ways of preserving, representing, analyze various and diversified material. Using novel computer-enabled methods, library service have captured imagination of academics and the general public. However, when we consider the application of technology, it is not always straightforward to apply technology. We have to consider the cost, budget, human resource, reliability, privacy, collaborative involved in the application. So we will not always consider the cutting-edge technology we plan to implement or to initiate research services and data analysis in our library. The initiation of research, the purpose of the initiating of research services include we like to promote open research, open science, support academic policy making, assist researches of faculty members, raise the reachability of the library. The tasks involved in the initiation of research service include construct research support infrastructure, initiate research service framework, implement service framework, and develop best practice. In order to initiate the research service in our library, we try to establish a new division. Here shows the current library organization chart of National Taiwan University Library. Here is the new division established in 2018. We have a multiple approach to fulfill research services. The first approach is related to activity and collaboration. We identify conceptual guidance. We hold promotion activity via multiple channels. We collect research outputs. We develop training courses, cooperate with national and international organizations. The second approach is to adopt bibliometric methodology. Here shows 3 examples of the output of our analysis. We provide statistics for the bibliometrics indicate. We carry out a benchmark analysis for our target institution or university. We explore the transition of research topics. The third approach is social network analysis. Social network analysis is a process of investigating social structure through the use of network or graph theory. In general, when SNA, that is social network analysis, applied to bibliographic data, the analysis item that can be carried out include co-work network, bibliographic coupling network, co-citation network, and the co-authorship network. The right-hand side picture shows an example of co-authorship analysis for authors. The yellow mark shown here is the name of our target author. Through the network, we can guide the teacher to the interpersonal connection that he can draw on when he would like to expand his research field from red cluster to blue, from blue cluster to red cluster. The last approach is to set out guidance for developing service platform. We have to regulate the standard coding framework, use public available tools or service as much as possible. We have to code functional modules to smooth different services, develop seamless procedure to pipeline various tools, construct friendly information platform. The research service initiated in our library are based on the OCLC framework for research data management, which consists 3 dimensions, that is education, curation, and expertise. Education is related to training to know tools and tools. Curation is related to infrastructure to supporting research. Expertise is related to the knowledge, experience, and solution. Here shows the 4 research services I would like to talk to you in this morning of National Taiwan University Library. The first one is discipline services. The second one is RDMLA courses. The third one is NTU Scholars. The fourth one is data analysis. As you can see the color, discipline services and the RDMLA service, courses corresponds to the education dimension. NTU Scholars is an information system, corresponds to the infrastructure. That is curation dimension. Data analysis is corresponds to the expertise dimension. Here slide shows the discipline services. There are 2 major tasks in these services. One is to advocate and promote various topics in the research data lifecycle. The second one is to use multiple channels to deepen subject services. In fact, a lot of education and the training courses or material are provided to our faculty member, student, online, offline, virtually, or physically in discipline services. For example, we have a well-known blog for reference services. We run a YouTube channel to promote various resources and share ideas and experience. We hold workshops of various topics which help our faculty members, graduate students, and the senior students to select good journals and to publish their research output. Since research data has become the core issue in research life cycle, we cooperate with in many institutes overseas to develop online courses to help our colleagues, faculty members, students to know almost every topic involved in research data management. RDMLA course is a product of the joint force. Originally, RDMLA is an online course initiated by Harvard Medical School, Harvard Library, Siemens University. Now we become a partner. Here shows the roadmap of RDMLA. We contact RDMLA team in 2019. In 2020, we signed an MOU for the collaboration. From that time, we started developing Chinese version of RDMLA. In 2021, Chinese version of RDMLA was released in Canvas in CC by NCSA. Now we have 11 course units, plus one getting started unit. Here shows the short address of our Chinese version RDMLA course. In addition, we not only consider user knowing, understanding Chinese, traditional Chinese, but also we consider those who only understand simplified Chinese. Therefore, a guideline was used to increase the readability of RDML course. Here shows a few rules. For example, we use short Chinese words when possible, and we juxtapose simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese together for reference. We also suggest audience the appropriate course unit and the possible application. 3 units were separated into A, B, C, 3 class. If you are a teacher or a librarian, it's good for you to take all course units. But if you are a researcher, Group A and Group B, Group C are enough for you. We also add a lot of value-added resources for our librarian and our colleague to use the RDML data, course data. We construct a research data management learning guide to increase the value of RDMLA. We integrate other learning platform, important collection, related tool and resources. We also provide other academic libraries with educational and training courses and resources for librarians for quick reference. Now I would like to move on the NTU Scholar. That is the curation dimension of NOCLC framework. Here's this slide show current research information system we call NTU Scholars. Originally, we have 2 systems. One is the NTU repository. This system provide a view from the publication. Another system is the academic hub. He provides users to review, to browse the research of NHO Taiwan University from person point of view. Now we combine the 2 systems into one NTU Scholars system. Users of NTU Scholars can search article by SDG, can browse a particular author page and examine the article page. Here is example of article page. We can find a handle. The handle is a persistent link. And you can find the associated research data if it's available for that publication. We can see various indicators for that publication. In addition, we also host a federated IR system in Taiwan, which contains the publication records for almost all universities in Taiwan. The tail system, currently the tail system contains more than 2.7 million records. We also provide usage statistics for each university. Here shows the name of university or institute. Here shows the full text records, the number of full text records of that university. Here shows the total records. Here shows the number of all visits. Here shows the online user when at the time we collect the data. A value added feature of TAIR also allows users to explore and compare the research chains of studies. Here shows example. Now I would like to move on to the third dimension, that is expertise. In National Taiwan University Library, we call the service is data analysis services. The service assists the teacher to quickly explore the overall picture of the research topic and the overview of multiple aspects. The main goals of the data analysis service is, the first one is explore research development, include collect core literature, investigate overview of research area, explore future research chain, find potential collaborators, provide supporting material for funding application. The second goal is to deepen library services, include demonstrate research outputs, help enhance academic performance, participate in research activity. In principle, there are three types of services involved in the data services. The first one is domain analysis. It is for researchers. The second one is competitive analysis for institutes. The third one is research analysis for disciplines. We carry out domain analysis from multiple perspectives. For example, it may be co-occurrence of keywords, co-authorship, bibliographic coupling, knowledge source, citation path analysis, etc. The analysis will be supplemented by various sources of academic index, for example, Web of Science, Scopus. Here, this slide shows an example of domain analysis we carry out for a researcher in National Taiwan University. We help our faculty members to publish their paper with appropriate beautiful pictures using technology of data analysis and data visualization. The faculty member acknowledge our librarian in his publication. For the competitive analysis, multiple indicators and value-added information was provided. For example, here shows the CI statistics for each institutions. As you can see in this slide, we publish the report after we carry out the analysis. This example is for the Department of Chemistry. We can provide a lot of information for the department. For example, the collaboration of their research and what the journals they publish. We also carry out benchmarking analysis. Here shows an example of competitive analysis according the QS World University ranking by specific subject. We choose World Top 10 and Asia Top 10 University for benchmarking and compare difference of the research topic development. Here shows the top 10 world university, the Asia top 10 universities. The third type of analysis is research analysis for disciplines. We show a Sankey diagram to demonstrate the interaction and the transition of research topic between academia and industry. Here shows this slide shows a very interesting task we carry out for our researcher and the research department or a special discipline. We could identify important and emerging research topics based on the density and the centrality. The topic in the first quadrant are mature and core research topics. In contrast, the topics in the fourth quadrant is under development, but maybe a core research topic in the future. Actually, research data analysis service not only for our faculty member, it's also for our library. Because we can use data analysis technique to solve problems, to make decisions, plan service, and analyze usage of the services. Actually, this report helps us to make decisions for journal acquisitions. In National Taiwan University Library, the journal we acquire cover almost 95 necessary requests by our university, requested by our research member and the senior students. In order to help researchers to find a potential partner, we also developed a very interesting information system to help our teacher, our researcher to find a potential partner. We call the system NTU Topics. It will be released in this year. You can find the authors, find the topics, find the institutes. If you would like to know a particular researcher in National Taiwan University, we can key in his name or her name and submit to the system. He will provide a different label of the research topic of the researchers. We provide three kind label. The first one is the macro label, meso label, and the micro label. If you click any area or block here, you can find the detailed information about the research. You also can find the research topics. Here shows the personal network. So you can find potential partner via this network. And the right-hand side diagram will change accordingly when you click any node in this network. The same philosophy also can be applied to institute. Here shows a network of institute network. We also provide information about the SDG related topic in the research institute, and also we provide the ratio of the SDG. Here shows the network, institute network, and the ratio of the research topic in different level, from micro to macro level. I would like to conclude my talk in 3 different viewpoints. The first one is the open and the sharing. The second one is innovation and the value. The third one is diversity and the compatibility. In open and sharing, we disseminate academic research output via NTU Scholar system. We deepen library profession via reference service block. We provide master and help online resources to our senior students, graduate students. We develop RDMLA chat course version for our partner library in Taiwan. We maintain a federated IR system for almost every university in Taiwan. That is Taiwan Academic Institution Repository. In innovation and value, we empower innovative library professional services. We initiate data-driven decision-making. We enhance library influence and visibility. In diversity and compatibility, we promote open science, open research. We deposit data in diversified formats. We analyze data of various sources. We utilize multiple tools. I would also like to point out the difference of our data analysis services. As we all know, a lot of academic library provide bibliometric analysis service to their faculty member. But what is the difference between their service and our services? The main important feature in our service is we not only provide metrics information, but also the relationship between articles, authors, institution, and the journal. This approach can break the boundary, especially for Chinese article or database, because this kind of database lack of metrics and indicator. We can provide other analysis service type to the teachers in the field of humanity and the social science. And the service for each case is customized, and we do our best to find out academic highlights for each case, for each applicant. We have known the good use of the visualization tools. Many use voice views for social network analysis. We also use different visualization tools to help solve the weak of the voice viewer. Most importantly, it must be easy to use and free. We use multiple application examples to attract faculty with different viewpoints in university community. It turned out to be very helpful for strategy promotion. So this is the end of my talk. Thanks for your patience and attention.
Although we didn't arrange QA time, but we still have 4 minutes. So according to yesterday experiences. So now if you have any question, please raise your hand and let us know your institution and your name. Please, only 2 opportunity to propose your question. Today we have very tight schedule because our distinguished guest is visiting Kaohsiung. We will take 1:30 high-speed rail to Kaohsiung. Do you have any question to ask our keynote speaker? No? Okay, if no one to ask question, I will end our keynote speech. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Dr. Chen. Share with us a new horizon of academic libraries, including technology and application. He introduced approaches NTU used and introduced research services and data analysis services NTU provides. We got many new ideas from his speech. So thank you very much for your valuable knowledge and expertise. So please join me to give a big round of applause to thank our keynote speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our speaker and chair. Now we'll have a 20-minute break. You could enjoy our refreshment outside, but please don't bring them inside. Thank you. will please take your seat. Welcome back to our final 2 sessions of the conference. We will have 2 consecutive sessions featuring 3 presenters in total. For the 3rd session, Libraries Practicing Sustainable Development as a Force for Good in the World. We are much delighted to invite Professor Haoren Ke from National Taiwan Normal University to be the chair for us. Welcome, Dr. Ke.
I think it's my honor to chair this section. The topic of this section focuses on the United Nations 2030 agenda, or so-called Sustainable Development Goals. Actually, I want you to raise your hand if you know or familiar with SDGs. Okay, now you can lower your hand now. I think maybe you know that SDGs consists of 17 goals, 169 targets, and more than 200 indicators. SDGs is organized under the so-called 5P concept. 5P. People, prosperity, planet, peace, and partnership. You may wonder the relationship between libraries and the SDGs. Actually, I think libraries have always played a vital role in advancing our world into a better future. So through the SDGs, it gives us a opportunity to showcase our contribution to help people access to information and knowledge, which can lead to improvements in better human life, economic growth, and environmental protection. Actually, during the initial drafting period of SDGs, IFLA worked hard to persuade or to, advocate for the importance of libraries and information access in achieving the SDGs. And as a result, we can see one specific target in the SDG that's strongly related to the library. The target is target 16.10, ensure public access to information and protect fundamental freedoms. So in this section, we have the honor of hearing from 2 distinguished speakers who will shed light on how libraries can contribute to achieving SDGs through our architecture, facilities, service, and activities. So without further ado,
I want to you to join me to welcome our first keynote speaker, Frank Scholz, Director General of the German National Library. Frank, please.
All right. Good morning, and thank you very much for inviting me to your 90th anniversary of the Central National Library of Taiwan. And thanks a lot for giving me the chance to think more about sustainability. Because when I first got your proposal to talk about sustainability, I had two impressions, and they were reflected on how we used the term in yesterday's conference. And my first two impressions were, it's a no-brainer, it's absolutely everybody agrees, it's important, it's about longevity, so about the future, the long cycle. National libraries are about the long cycle, so what's the point in it? And the second one is, it's about ecology, it's about green libraries. Everybody agrees about that, so where's the point? And thanks a lot for giving me actually the chance to think about that. And I want to share a few of the ideas and reflections I had during that voyage of rethinking a concept that is so prominent that we just take it as a given. And I start with this quote here from Isabel Romanozzi: "Sustainability is a mindset." I think this is a little bit more than just green or just taking the long perspective. It's about really ourselves, how we see the world, how we perceive it. And therefore I want to really dig in deep with the first part of my presentation, and only in the second part give you a few examples from the German National Library to illustrate this deeper digging into it. To define sustainability as a mindset, there are certain principles underneath that, and I want to give you some of them. One is systems thinking. Don't know if you're familiar with that. When I turned to management school, I was initially intrigued by a line of thought that we in Europe see as a St. Gallen School of Management, which is deeply based in system thinking, that everything is interconnected, and that if you change one thing in one system, it has effects to other systems, and you're not always aware of these effects. So you have to be aware that your actions have consequences that you're unaware of. So this kind of uncertainty built in systems thinking is accompany you in your daily thinking. And with that, it's a kind of holistic approach, including this uncertainty. And this means you have also to think about resilience. When you have this uncertainty you can't control, you want to build systems and communities that adapt and recover from shocks or distortions of these unwanted consequences if you change things. And it's also about regeneration, restoring, regenerating systems and resources, technical and natural. that have been degraded or depleted. So it's also, and we heard that, about collaboration, because these complex problems and these consequences you can't foresee in other systems, they need partnerships and cooperations to find solutions that work for everyone. So no institution, no one can do it alone. And innovation is a crucial point as well here. In order to tackle the future with all its uncertainty and complexity, you really have to have this way of thinking, new technologies, new practices, new business models have to be developed with this uncertainty built in. So if you take this all together, systems thinking, resilience, regeneration, collaboration, innovation, it's a lot of the values we already talked about yesterday without calling them sustainability, actually. But if you take this again, and this is from another publication, it comes together quite nicely. And this also gives this thought of the long-term perspective, but it puts it together with other things here. It's about evaluating value and impact over a lifetime and beyond. That's where we find ourselves as national libraries. We're here over a lifetime and beyond. So that's something you could say metaphysical, transcending. We are here for a cause that's more than you have in this world. I don't want to get too metaphysical, but you have to bear that in mind as another dimension, and I will come back to that later on. So if you really go from these values with a kind of transcendental quality, it's about making decisions now that have consequences for later on. And this leads you really to a more complex thinking, but also to a circular thinking. We have here another picture of sort of trying to break down this complexity, that sustainability always multifaceted. And this is a reduction already to economy, environment, and society. You would have a lot of different aspects, and I'm quite sure we will hear in the next presentation a lot more about architecture and other things. But this is only to remind you, it's this system thinking perspective that's important here. And another key element I wanted to make is this kind of metaphysical aspect of sustainability. When you take this and try to bring it together with a kind of pragmatic view, you're at the heart of the topic for this talk. And I really like that because I didn't invent it myself. It was given for this conference here. Libraries practicing sustainable development as a force for good in the world. This is not what I would normally talk about as a librarian, a force for good in the world. And I deliberately took this picture here from the federal government of Germany. They made a set of icons for the SDGs for young people. And this is this core SDG, peace, justice, and strong institutions. We just heard target number 1610 is the central one for libraries, access to information. So this is the SDG here. And what you can see is a quite strong dove. You agree on that? And this means libraries should be strong institutions in order to practice those sustainability values. And these are also values that go beyond just access to information. We go, or often like to go, from a very practical thing, access to information, but then it builds up to this more complex and system thinking thing, that access to information is a first step to go towards things like peace and justice, which are large concepts, and which have to be implemented on a societal base. So with this in mind, it is that we can define, so to say, the core value of libraries out of this freedom of information for societies at large, because this is the unique value proposition that national libraries are the living and active memories of societies, and without these memories, societies would lose, so to say, what they are, what they're coming from. They would suffer amnesia or dementia. And the German philosopher Odo Marquardt put it like this: future needs origin. So in order to have a future, you need to know where you come from. And this means if you don't know where you come from, if the memory of a society, of a nation would go away, you would lose. You're not able to build things from scratch. Even if you think you're building things from scratch, there's always something there. So that's for me, the unique value proposition of libraries, and especially national libraries, to be this core of a memory that you need in order to have a future. And I think it's a little bit like system thinking. I had two observations also together with this motto here, sustainable development as a force for good. One was the Swedish writer Astrid Lindgren. She put this phrase in a different saying. She said, those who are strong also have to be good. So she made this relationship that strongness means you have to be good, which is a moral imperative, but you all can see where that leads. But at least for libraries, it should be our core mission to really base on these values that we have together. And I really, I sampled a few of the values that we have, so to say, created or talked about yesterday. We spoke a lot about inclusion, diversity, literacy, innovation, equality, cohesion. So these values, if we put them at the core, that's how to be good as libraries. And I think this is, from this memory function, the central point that libraries can have their impact on society, that they should reach out to each and everyone, as many people as possible. And I give you some examples later on, in order to actively convey those values. And there's another story that came up when I read this motto here. You might be familiar with it. It's also about living those values that I just described, that are so important for libraries. And you might not be at first thinking, this is the the basic reference for sustainability. It's Henry Ford. So maybe not all of you know that story. That's why I tell it. It's a story about values. Henry Ford, he had to hire an engineer, and he had two very highly qualified applicants, both graduates from MIT. So he had an application lunch with them, and they were really clever and nice, and everything went very well. They had a very nice conversation over lunch. Both felt really well. Everything was friendly. And after the lunch, Henry Ford said to one, "I give you this position." And the other one, he said, "Well, everything was the same. We had such a nice atmosphere. How could you discriminate between us two?" And Henry Ford said, there were two things. First, you salted your steak and then you ate it. I like people who try out things before they change it. And the second, you only spoke to me and you treated the waiters like they weren't existing. I like people who recognize the people around them and see them who they are. So this is about values and in a way about sustainability, because only if you have that values, you're going for the long term and for this complexity with actions in different systems that you cannot really control about. So this was the, so to say, conceptual, the philosophical part, and it becomes a little bit more touchy now. You all know these SDGs. I couldn't help to bring them down here. And I made an institutional selection out of the SDGs and out of the targets here. I think for the German National Library, these targets are the most important one. It's not the only ones. If you all might be familiar with the IFLA library map of the world, where you have this mapping of library activities, services to all the SDGs, and you have brilliant examples for almost all SDGs, almost all targets. So this is just a selection. You might have other selections, but for me, it was the guiding principles for the rest of this talk here. And I was just tell a little bit about that. We heard that 1610 is the real central one here. Ensure public access to information, protect fundamental freedoms. So this is important. It's not just about access to information, it's about fundamental freedoms. And I would go even further. It's about evaluating information, about cross-referencing sources, about critical thinking. So it's access to information and knowing how to do something with this information. So this is really a central one, but we have a lot of things here. Protect cultural and natural heritage. It's also systems thinking because it takes together cultural and natural heritage. Yeah. We have inclusion here. We have enhanced research, upgrade technologies, literacy, and we have knowledge sharing, cooperation. So we have, again, this set of values. So I think the SDGs is quite a nice framework for bringing together those values that we all share, at least in our part of the world. I don't want to talk a lot about that, about block building on a global scale, but these values are not shared by every society in the world. We have to be sure about that. So this is an unsolved problem that we will have in the future, but let's be sure that we stick to those values here. So this is the advertising part. I'll try to cut that short, but I think it's also important to know where my thinking comes from. German National Library is a reflection of German history, basically, even before those two buildings were built. And this one here is from 1912. And even that date means a reflection of German history, because there was no German state for a long time, only in 1870, and then it took over 40 years to build a national library. And it wasn't like in the UK that older institutions were incorporated. It was done from scratch, so to say, but the scratch I just described, here on a green field. It was erected just from scratch in 1912, and it was founded by publishers, actually. Publishers and the Kingdom of Saxony, and it only later became part of the federal government's business here. So that's why it's a young library. The collection is young, starting in 1912, but it tries to be a comprehensive collection, just taking in everything. I'll give you some figures later on. And the second one in Frankfurt, it's not the initial one from 1946, as you can tell from the architecture. This is from 1997 here. Has been refounded after the Second World War with the splitting up of Germany in the east and west part. And it has been reunited in 1989. So it's one organization with two locations. And we had a really intense time over the past 30 years of really making this one organization in two locations work with two cultures. This is called the Deutsche Bücherei, die Deutsche Bibliothek in German. So this is just a slight wording, but it means it's really had been two different cultures. But it has become one, and I think COVID has helped a lot of really giving this integrated thought, and that working together in a virtual environment has become the new normal. So a lot of my colleagues say it's only after COVID that we really think we're one organization. All right, and now just some examples from the German National Library to illustrate those SDGs, and I always give the reference to the target from my initial selection here. This is a lot of text here. I choose it deliberately from another presentation because it makes again this point that it's multifaceted. This is the ecological perspective, the main perspective, but there's a lot of social and economic things in it. As you can see, it's about products, green IT, so it's about procurement, it's about social thing, waste avoidance, abolish disposable dishware, things like that. Your daily practice has to change. So there's a lot of social things in it. And you can, so to say, bring that back to a nice system. It's called EMAS, Eco-Management and Audit Scheme. It's, I think, a European, but also an international scheme. A certification for environmental management that focuses on improving the performance of organizations. So we're in the process of preparing for having this audit maybe in this year, beginning of next year. So there are systems that help you cover this complexity and this multifaceticity. But the main takeaway point here is it's always about different perspectives. So even if you go for ecological things, there are always these other dimensions. And if you neglect them, you might have a harder job to go forward. So just some more examples here. Energy consumption, we did quite well before. We have this energy crisis in Germany after the Ukraine war because we're heavily depending on Russian gas. But we have been prepared since 2018, 2019, we reduce our energy consumption, and this is the most prominent thing, to switch to LED lighting. It saved a lot of energy. The thing, besides saving, is to become self-sustainable. You know this term. produce the energy yourself. So we're going for photovoltaic systems. Not all of you can do it. I think we have discussed it in one of the coffee breaks or the tea breaks. With the building in Frankfurt, we can just, on the rooftops, implement a lot of those solar cells and hope that we can save up to 50%, or not save, but produce up to 50% of the electric energy that we consume ourselves. So saving and self-producing, I think, are the basic concepts here. Where it gets a little bit more, I would say, complex is preservation. It's this long shot where you have some, you could say, tensions that you can't just resolve. When you think about preservation, you want to keep everything, but a lot of material is not meant for eternity. So this is a tension, even in the material, but also in the things you do to keep it when you take this circular approach. So we wanted to have a closer look here, and we looked into what material do we want to preserve for eternity, and we took about 1% of our collection, which is around 400,000 items, and analyzed them, and found that about 50% contain a mix of papers here, the green, 58 actually, and 36 are not specified at all. So the one where you want to be here, archive paper, which is really longevity, it's very small. So we have a lot of things to do here. That's why we go for more archival boxes, which is a nice transformation also to automated storage. We'll tell a little bit about that later on. And we try to do minimal invasive preservation treatment and try to couple it with a digitization strategy, because the future will be digital. We all know that. This is just the figures of the German National Library. And this is what I said earlier. We're collecting everything in Germany. So it's really a lot. In a normal working day, we're receiving about 1,000 to 2,000 analog publications and about maybe 3,000 to 8,000 digital ones. So it's about 2.5 million that we get every year. So this is really massive, and digital is growing much faster than the analog. But we come from an analog world, so all in all, we're around, I think, 44 million right now, and I think 12 or 13 million is digital right now, so it's about 1/4, but it will change in the next few years. Crucial thing for access here is that only about 2.5 million of those 12 or 13 million have licenses that you can access from outside the German National Library sites. So if you really want to have the full collection, you have to go on site, even digital in a virtual environment. That's how it is in Germany, at least. But we try to promote this, what we can offer, as prominent as possible. So we have this D&B lab, access to digital objects and metadata. And this is just one example here, what you can do with this data. So we try to make these examples very prominent in order to stimulate people and society at large to do something with the data. And this is an analysis of concepts that are in publications in Germany from 1910 to 2020, the most prominent ones. And you see, it's also about transcendence. It's about love, heart, life, death, war, and peace. These are the most prominent concepts in all German publications about 100 years. And in relative figures, it's always love that has the dominant thing. So our society is really dealing with love. You would not have thought about that, but it's like that. So I have to hurry, I think. This is, so to say, another aspect here. I just wanted a very brief selection of the cooperations we do, and this shows that there's a lot on the national scale, some on the European and some on the international scale, which means we're trying a lot, but there is a rich landscape in Germany which absorbs a lot of our cooperation powers. And to give you just one more example, I mentioned them briefly. This is the massive national research data infrastructure in Germany, which also has international European, so to say, outreach. Just one other example here would be collecting the German language Twitter. We're doing that since the end of February in a kind of crowdsourcing initiative with the Science Data Center for Literature, using these academic APIs. So it's about 4 billion tweets in the German language. We have collected about 200 million right now. And we have this call, so every scholar who has an academic API access can help here, because as a scholar, you can download up to 10 million tweets per month. So the more there are, the quicker it will be. This is just here example for knowledge sharing. So the last two examples I want to give, it's also about this outreach and this interactivity we talked so much about yesterday as well. One project is what we in Germany have, I don't know how it's in other countries, a multi-generation house. So we're going out of the library to communities that normally don't use a library. And we're really sitting down with them and talking with them. I think Leslie will give a lot of great examples what they're doing in Canada of going out and talking. We just talked about that in the coffee break, but this is one we do here. I just wanted to relate to Leslie because in every country it's different. So they're doing great work in Canada. We're doing with these multi-generation houses here, but the basic principle is that you switch from teaching to learning. You go out and learn something from them, and it's not that the library says, this is how it is, and yeah, we try to learn from them, and then we try to match and try to evolve the library and its services. That's the basic takeaway message for this one here. And this is the last example I have for you. Some of you might be familiar with that. It's Dimensions in Testimony, USC Shoah Foundation. We have done it, have done 2 of these very long and tedious interviews, and I really am grateful here to Inge Auerbacher and Kurt S. Meyer. They're 2 exile people. Oh, sorry. Who have been interviewed for days in order to have the input for an AI interface so that you can talk to these people in a virtual environment. It's done in a kind of projection, so we will incorporate that in our permanent exhibition so that people can come and just talk with the persons. You can just ask questions and they answer. And right now, as we're preparing this permanent exhibition, we're going on tour with that. So you don't have to have a 3D projection, it's quite heavy, but you can also take just a big high definition screen, and we're going out to schools and have like this chat like here, and have this massive screen, and then you can talk to peoples who have lived through that exile, and you can, so to say, actively connect to their memory. So this is just an example of going out to society and make this really, this connectivity. So I want to conclude with where I started. Sustainability can be at the heart of national libraries because it brings out our perspectives on circular, on the long term, and on values. And it can bring out the unique value proposition of national libraries as an active memory that really has to connect with all parts of a society and is the vital part in order to tackle all the challenges in the future. So I want to close with this line here. We can help build strong individuals who are strong enough to say overcome all these just focusing on what's next, how can I earn more money, but really see through these kind of worldly things and go for other values. And I think this is really important because if we just focus on the next step, we are still in this make, take, and waste economy, and this is not sustainable. So I think there's where the cycle comes back to libraries. And thank you for your attention. And I'm sorry for taking too much time, but I still wanted to join the circle of congratulations for the National Central Library, and I would like to present.
Following the motto set by Sir Keating yesterday, for better or worse, our friend from Germany would like to deliver his gift to the NCL.
A short present from the German National Library. Thank you.
So we thank Frank for his inspiring talk. The next speaker will be, there's some transition. Guo Yingzhao. Guo Yingzhao is the principal architect of bioarchitecture for Mosana, or BAF, which is a Taipei-based architecture design firm. BAF has been one of the leading architecture firms in Taiwan, and its work range from culture, education, transportation, hospitality, workspace, and housing for both public and private sector. The Beito Library project, completed in 2006 is Taiwan's first certified green architecture project. Yingzhao Guo has won numerous awards for his design in sustainability and was the recipient of the 12th awarding of outstanding architects in Taiwan in 2011.
Yes.
Guo, please.
I kind of noticed that I'm the only non-librarian speakers in this symposium, so I hope you find my presentation interesting and helpful. I think we all know that SDG is not just about carbon. It's about the health of ecology and about humanity also. And it's a very big scope, so I would like to start with the story of a very, very small library. Typhoon Morakot hit Taiwan in 2009 and bring in the record-breaking rainfall in 200 years. So Namasha is one of the hardest hit area. And this is Minchen Library. It's like half buried by the mudslide. And this is what happened in the classroom. So luckily it happened during the night, so no children was injured. So this gentleman, Bruce Chen, he stepped up and decided to help with the rebuild of the school. This Delta Electronic is one of the most well-known high-tech company in the world. It's like TSMC in the world. So the first thing we do is to visit the village and listen to what the community has to say about the rehabilitation of this disaster. What impressed me most is one of the community leader. She's called Abu, and she said, we are not to rebuild what we lost, but we are to rebuild the future. So, you know, this in the center of every village of this community, indigenous community, there's a building called Kakuru. And Kakuru is like the library of each village that is what, but in plain English, is called men's club. So only men are allowed to go into this building, and there's, you know, they teach the skill of like the battle of or hunting or the knowledge of agriculture. So it's the center of the community. It's the symbol, spiritual symbol of the community. So this is what it looks like in the village. So I had a dream. I had a dream that there's a local flower, a very, very beautiful local flower, and I think if we can incorporate the shape of the flower and the symbolic value of Kakuru into a library. So this is what we come up with, a very, very small library. This is the flower called Datura, and this is the Datura roof of the library. And this is the interior of this very, very small library. And this is built with local timbers also. And we also designed the furniture of the library. You know, it's kind of bath, when you are inside your bath in the natural light. And there's a small kind of like a space that children can you know, tell story, and they can come together and have a class. And you can see girls or women are allowed to this building, you know, not just a men's club. And this is its natural setting. So we have a small pond here that, you know, in the summertime, the cool air can go into this inside of the library, and the hot air will goes out. So actually, we have installed some air conditioning system, but we never have to use it. You know, it's a very kind of naturally cooled space. And on top of that, we invite the local artist called Ubu, you know, the artist, to create arts for the campus. So this is, and we're working with this is me without the beard, you know, like 12 years ago. Yeah. So he has sketches. We discuss with him and where to put these arts on the building. So, you know, we have this sun in the entrance of the school, and this is the water tower. You know, this symbolizes that the harvest of the village. And you can see this is the library, and this is the entrance of school. You know, all these artworks and symbol of the village, of the culture. And mythology, you know, mythology was transformed into artworks throughout the campus. And so it's a very good classroom, that outdoor classroom, informal classroom, that teachers can tell the kids of the community about, you know, the past of their tribes, and, you know, the cultural value of their tribe. And you also can have some outdoor courses to educate the kids. And this is the local elderly that teach the kids, some knowledge of agriculture. So during the process and when the process kind of ends, we kind of find out, in the beginning when we talk about the future, but the future is really the kids, of the school. So, and how this is related to SDG. This happened in 2009, even before SDG was inaugurated. So all of everything we have done together in Namasha is, like many dialogues with communities, respect and manifest the indigenous culture, and to know the characteristic of the land, and redefine school as a shelter for natural disaster, use renewable energy, use local timber, maximize natural ventilation and light, enrich local ecology, work with local artists to create artworks for indigenous mythology in the campus, and design extra curriculum of indigenous culture with the local group, provide budget for post-occupancy survey and facility management, and monitor the building performance, and achieve net zero energy and LEED Platinum certified, bring hope that encourage more people back to the village and vitalize the local economy. So if you put that into a SDG context, we actually meet these goals, 12 goals of the SDGs. So even for a very small library and very small campus, we can do a lot of things that associate with the SDG goals. The 12th. So how could a library be SDG relevant? First, I would like to share with you in harmony with the surroundings. So it will meet like 4 SDG goals. The Beito Library Professor Ke just mentioned is located in a very beautiful natural setting. So this is a library we designed about 15 years ago, or even longer, I forgot. This is the first job that I worked with Dr. Chen when he was the General Director of Taipei Municipal Libraries. So this building kind of sit very comfortably in a natural setting. Imagine you are an animal like a beaver and you go to your habitat. What would you do with your habitat? You won't mess up with it. You take advantage of it. You'll be in harmony with it. So, like there's a creek besides the library, we take advantage of the creek, the cool air of the creek, and the shading of the site. And then there's some existing trees, so we have a big opening that invites more natural light into the space without inviting direct solar heat into the space. And this is the southern branch of National Library that we designed. So in this project, the building site has a lot of existing trees, and the diversity is amazing. So we kind of take advantage of this existing tree and then preserve almost like 90% of the trees on the site. So you can see the building kind of just try to fit into the site very carefully, without kind of needing to cut down some trees that which is very beautiful and helpful to the biodiversity on the site. And we also have simulation for the site after the building is built. So then in that way we know where to put some outdoor reading area that encourage people to come to the library and enjoy the reading in the park. So this is the existing trees and some tree houses and the approach to the library, which is really carefully arranged to be in harmony with the existing trees and the buildings. And then to use renewable energy and renewable materials. So this is the SDG goals that you can meet when you do this. Oh, this should not be happen here. It should come later, sorry. Actually, no, it does. Okay, this is, I found this on internet. This is the visiting curve visitors curve for Taipei Municipal Library, and you can see the peak hour of the Taipei Municipal Library is always happen at noon, like between like 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock is the peak hour. And during that hour, the energy consumption goes to the peak also. So when you use the renewable energy, like solar energy, the peak is also at noon. So when you use solar energy, it really helps, like on top of a direct input of electricity, it actually cut the peak load of the library and save you a lot of money too. So this is what we do on Beito Library on the roof. So the roof is slightly tilted to accept the light and then to have a very good drainage of rainwater on the roof. And timber is not only a zero carbon material, it's a negative carbon material because when a tree grows, it actually absorbs carbon dioxide. So you can see a timber as like a storage of carbon. So if you can use timber, you can see this is a very beautiful timber, and you can see, oh, carbon, it's like carbon in your library. So this is the interior of the Beito Library, and even the material, the structure and material of the floor, we use timber. And then for the bigger library, we designed, we have much bigger solar energy installation. This is like the BIPV installation PV, and then this is the general PV. So we have like 3.5 megawatts of solar energy on this library. And also for the outdoor reading, we use like timber post also. And then the third thing is to encourage outdoor reading. I think in Taiwan, for many seasons, for many months, that you can really be reading outdoor and feel very comfortable. This is the Beito Library. We have like a balcony for people to be read in the park. There's a small story I want to share with you that normally library doesn't encourage people to read outdoor because they can easily just throw the book outside and take the book away. And Dr. Zen say, it doesn't matter that you lost one book or two, the most important thing is you can read outdoor. Yeah. And by reading outdoor, you get the most wonderful quality of light. It helps your eyes and it saves energy also. So I think to encourage outdoor reading is a very efficient way to save energy and improve the health of people. And so for a bigger scale, we still encourage people to read outdoor, and then even for a bigger space, you can even have like more interesting way to be reading outdoor. And then to maximize natural lighting and optimize artificial lighting. This our southern branch, National Library Southern Branch, we bring natural light from the top. And on the other competition that we didn't win, but we like this project very much, that through a series of atrium, we can bring in natural light very deep into the library space. So I think natural light not only save energy, it helps your eyes, and it gives you the good mood, and it gives you the good health also. And when it comes to the artificial lighting at night, we bring down the light very low, so we can have very low wattage of lights that can enough for people to read, but not to kind of illuminate the whole space. That also save a lot of energy too. And there are other means to to optimize artificial lighting. That is, as you move away from the window and less natural light, you increase the level of artificial lighting. So you don't use artificial lighting, in a very general way, but to differentiate, the level of artificial lighting. Then I think to employ smart technology and monitor building energy performance. So like you can monitor your elevators if you are like a big, tall library. And you can monitor the heat load by zone, so you can kind of control like the air conditioning like separately. So when there's area that there are not so many people there, you can lower the level of like fresh air that can save energy also. And then monitor the HVAC capacities and monitor energy consumption by hours. So like the energy consumption pattern of your building, then you can develop a strategy of like saving energies. And these are all technology that is available nowadays and not very expensive also. And the last thing I want to share with you is to be circular. I think everything is circular in our universe. Oh, sorry. And our planet Earth is like 100% circular also. But our economy is linear, with only 9% circularity. That means we create a lot of waste and harm humanity and harm our ecosystem also. So resource extraction and processing account for half of global climate change emission and 90% of global biodiversity and water stress impact, and 1/3 of human health impact. So I think that's the importance of circularity. And for current global economy, it's only 9% circular. So this is like the daily practice of Taiwan. This is like the demolition of a building, and this is a demolition of interior space. So we create some methodology for like circular architecture, circular economy, and interior circular economy. So in the old time, we do some like we reclaim some like old like roof tile for old building and use in the new building, and this is like an old truss for art studio. But that's not like a systematic method. It's like more kind of incidental. So now we need to develop a more systematic method for circular economy. So this is ACE and this is ICE. So ACE means ACE means architectural circular economy and interior circular economy. So so when you think about a circular building, you can see like that the Fairphone developed by Dutch. Each part is like a modularized. A building can be modularized also. So this is a building. It has facade, it has structure, it has appliances, and also so is a building. So I would like to share with you a video. Can we have the sound?
如何启动它下一个生命周期？
那分层次设计呢，其实就是说我们要把不一样的生命周期的物件就要分配来设计。比如说今天如果是一些是2年到5年会坏的东西，我们不会把它跟那种10年或20年会坏的东西把它粘在一起。
模具化对循环建筑来讲也是一个非常重要的概念。我们从结构体到外墙，那甚至到室内，我们都有一个尺寸的一个模具。有了模具化的基础以后，事实上它就为预铸工法奠下一个非常好的基础。我们所有的建筑元件呢，就有机会在工厂里面制造，然后到现场去组装，未来就可以把它拆解再利用。我 们把一栋建筑物呢，本身就是看作一个储存材料的银行。它最重要的关键还是在我们现在采用的一个 BIM 的一个技术。这个建筑物实体上它是怎么样的被组装起来，每一个元件有多少，在什么位置，都是非常完整的一个呈现。那这些元件是可以在市场上流通的。那甚至你可以把你拆解下来的材料跟别人交换，或是卖给别人，你再去盖一个新的建筑物。沙伦这个案子最大的意义，其实也在于告诉大家这件事情是可行的，一起来做吧。
Okay, and we even rent the artwork in the building. So I think no matter you're building a housing, you're building the office building, or you're building a library, this is a very good way to build a building and to be circular in the future. And an interior example is like what we do in the 35th floor of Taipei 101. And so we also do it in a very circular way. It's modular. Everything is modular. Everything is put together and be able to be disassembled in the future. I think that applies to library space also. In the future, if we are doing the refurbishing of the space, or getting like a new installation, I think this is a very good way to do it, to be modularized, to be able to assemble and disassemble in the future. So you don't generate waste. And big furniture are movable also, so you can kind of rearrange the space for future need. So this is like, everything is loose, everything is rental. Even like the lighting is rental and the furniture is rental. And the plants, the artworks are all rental. So you don't own something, you use it and you have the right to use it, but somebody else owns it and manage it and kind of fix it, for you. So we have rental program for furniture, for artworks, for plants, and lighting fixture also. So the last thing I want to share with you is, like for us, we are a private sector, you're architecture firm, and for some of you, you work for like a government agency. But no matter you are from private sector or you are from public sector, I think we all need to develop our own environmental action plan. And take ourselves, for example. This is BAF ESG, environmental, social, and governance. So we support NGO groups. We support many NGO groups. We do regular donation and we work with them on some project also. And we promote gender equality and human rights policy. And for our work environment, everything is so circular in our office too. Everything is put together and be able to be disassembled. And we have a garden, we have like our space is full of natural light, so it enhances the health of our co-workers. And we create a BAF foundation that we help school, to have some extracurricular program. And then we sponsor architects declare that we invite many architecture firms to join the environmental action plan. And we advocate our environmental ideas. So we publish books and we have speech and teaching and publication and internship. And then, in our office, we don't allow any single-use plastic, I'll give them a very green face if I saw that in our office. And then the red box is like what we plan to do, but we haven't started to do it yet, which is a past partnership for SDGs, like our consultants and our suppliers. And we encourage our staff to encourage energy efficient and public transportations. And right now we start to do our carbon footprint verification within our office. So I think, I just share a lot of like how we do the right thing, but I think doing the right thing is not enough. I I think we need to inspire and strengthen all the stakeholders. Invite everybody, to join us, to be in the game, to do things together, to act together. I think that's, how we can really implement SDGs. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our two presenters and our chair. For the final session of the day, Interregional Exchange, Creating New Values for Integrated Library Development. We are very pleased to invite Professor Mei Hua Yang from National Zhengzhi University to be the chair for us. Welcome, Dr. Yang.
Bonjour, Leslie, guten Tag, distinguished guests. Good morning, ladies. 大家好, gentlemen. As we come to the final session of our conference, Interregional Exchange Creating New Values for Integrating Library Development, I'm honored to moderate this session. We are privileged to have today a distinguished keynote speaker, Leslie Wire, who is the librarian and archivist of the Library and Archives Canada, as well as the professional division chair at IFLA. Ms. Wire has played an instrumental role in many transformative moments at the Canadian Research Knowledge Network and research libraries in Canada. Her unique experience and insights are sure to inspire and enlighten us all. Her topic today is transforming access, shifting the focus from preservation towards access. Please join with me to welcome Ms. Canada.
I think it's on. Can you hear me? Perfect. Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, well, what an incredible 2 days that we've all had. I have to say that when I looked at the symposium, I wondered how it would all fit together. But, like, wow. The sustainability, the data services, the smart technology, the impetus that the pandemic has created, and discovering new value of the library. The pieces are all fitting together. We are echoing messages, we're picking up threads, we are aligning our thinking, because I think as libraries we share such common values and interests, and we have had quite an extraordinary experience over recent years. And as we look to the future, I think we want to be sure that we, in fact, are serving our societies, our communities, and that we are ensuring we do have a sustainable world. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about what is happening in Canada, and I think we're going to find out that I'm probably echoing things that you're experiencing. So I'm the Librarian Archivist of Canada. We have merged National Library and National Archives, and we are in the midst of very much like the National Central Library here. I had a wonderful opportunity to engage with the team and discuss the vision and the direction. And in fact, we share so much. We're just launching a new vision. We are creating new facilities, and thank you, Frank, we are looking at having new mindsets. So I think this shift creates incredible opportunities, unprecedented opportunities for partnerships, both nationally and internationally, and for engaging with our communities and ensuring that we are supporting them to, in fact, be sustainable. So I would like to just give you a quick thumbnail about Libraries and Archives Canada. So we were founded as the Dominion Archives in 1872. The National Library was then founded in 1953. Fair disclosure, I'm a librarian, the first librarian head of Libraries and Archives Canada, and in fact the first woman leader. So we merged in 2004 to create Libraries and Archives Canada, and the idea was that we could take the strengths and the professions of librarianship and archival sciences, and we could create a unique organization to serve Canada in the 21st century, the century of information. So that was 2004. And we are, in fact, part of the Heritage Portfolio, and I report through the Minister of Heritage to Canadian Parliament. So we do have pretty big collections. I think most of you know Canada's a relatively large country geographically. We have just 37.5 million people, so we're only a little bit bigger in population than Taiwan, but maybe a little bit bigger in space. And our collections are in the 5 largest collections in the world. So not quite as big as the British Library, but you know, we're working to get there. So we have about 23 million books. We have 250 kilometers of archival records. We have 425,000 works of art. We have every stamp that's been issued in Canada. We have all the medals from the military. We have architectural plans. And we also are the memory of the federal government of Canada. We have incredible experts that work as part of our team, librarians, archivists, curators. We have people that specialize in preservation, in digitization, in technology, and our team is all working together to make sure that we can, in fact, deliver services to Canadians and to all the peoples of Canada. I should take a moment here to say that Libraries and Archives Canada does hold the stories of the First Nations, the Métis Nation, and the Inuit peoples, the original peoples of Canada. Canada, of course, is the northern part of Turtle Island, and Canada is simply its name by which it's called today. We understand at Libraries and Archives Canada that without truth, there actually can never be reconciliation, and I have the great privilege to live and work on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe people. And they are the caretakers of the land that I live on from the past, and they are in the present, and they will be in the future. So this is a quick look at our service points. We actually start in the east on the Atlantic Ocean, and then we have a service point on the Pacific Ocean as well. So we are located in collaboration in Halifax, Nova Scotia, with a museum. So we're with the Pier 21 Museum. Then we have major facilities in Canada's capital, Ottawa, and the sister city, Gatineau. So we're located in 2 different provinces in that area. And then we also have a very large facility in Winnipeg, which is the geographic center of Canada. And that's where we hold all of the military services veterans records. And then we are located with a public library on the West Coast in Vancouver with Vancouver Public Library. We don't have the impressive numbers, can I say, that the National Central Library of China, National Central Library has here in Taiwan, or in fact, the Singapore National Library, or the British Library. We have about 50,000 in-person visitors a year. And we have millions who do come to us virtually. And we are in a very big country, so we're trying to find ways to be able to engage with all of the peoples in Canada. And one can do that virtually, but one also needs to look at how one can be in their communities, even if you may not actually physically be located there. So, as I mentioned, we have 3 million online visitors. We have 50,000 researchers and readers who come to our facilities. And then we have in the past year, 2022, we had 175,000 participants in events and coming to our exhibits that were either curated by our team or in collaboration with our partners. So, pretty key for us at this moment in time in Canada, and I think in many national institutions, we are seeing that there are different perspectives of all of the histories that we've lived. Each person and each community in each of our countries may have a very different perspective of the history that they experienced. And we feel quite strongly that as a national library, we need to reflect those stories. It is very important that everyone in Canada see themselves in their national library, and that in fact, access is key to understanding, and understanding is an underpinning of democracy. So, we, like the National Central Library, drafted a vision for 2030. It was the first time that we had done a longer term approach, and we have focused in on these 4 key points. So we need to connect, and I should say we're changing this because it's not just with Canadians, it's with anyone who's in Canada. And in just the past year, we have welcomed 1 million new immigrants to Canada. When you have 37.5 million, 1 million new people in 1 year is a very large number. And we want everyone to be able to feel that we reflect their stories, as I mentioned. So we're going to make sure that we can connect the peoples in Canada with our collections. We're going to reflect those many voices. We're going to engage with the community and partner with the world, while we're also supporting our people at Libraries and Archives Canada and sustaining our heritage. So we have launched this vision in July 2022, and as part of this vision, we have also begun really thinking seriously about what is best practice in change management. Because everyone is living through a great deal of change. And so sometimes people feel resistant to change in the areas they feel they have control. And so for us as professionals, the areas we may feel that we have control may relate to the kind of experience that our users end up being able to have. Because, if we can keep things kind of stable and constant, maybe it's a little bit easier for us. But in fact, maybe it's not what's best for the people that we're serving. So we are also looking at taking a more structured approach when we're doing a project to really, have that sponsor for the project, have clearly identified outcomes and goals, have clear roles, and everyone knowing how they can work together in cooperation. And it's especially important in an institution like mine, where we have a library and an archives, and those of us in this business know that those, while there are many similarities, they're also very, very different. And we need to look at ways that we can encourage collaboration and break down silos and barriers so that we're all working for the same goals. So over the next 2 years, we've decided to focus especially in on the access to providing engaging and simplified services enhancing our capacity, so building staff skills, recruiting new employees, building our technical infrastructure, and we're looking at changing the way we work, because I'm sure none of your libraries are like this. But if we could take 24 steps to do something that you only need 5, we'll do it with 24 steps. So we're in the midst of reassessing to make sure that the steps that we use to accomplish the work we do are the ones that are going to get the right outcome for our readers. So I want to really focus in on the importance of community and working with our communities. We have had a series of initiatives, a number of which might have been had a slight impact because of the pandemic. I'll just remind you, for those of you that aren't aware, perhaps, that I began as Librarian Archivist of Canada in August 2019. I had a really great 6 months before the pandemic hit, and then we had to look at how we could sustain our interaction with community during rather exceptional times. So we have had a number of initiatives. In Canada, we work a lot with the galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. We see great synergies, really good opportunities for collaboration, and we want to work together to try to attract more funding to the sector as a whole, rather than competing amongst us to see who can get the most funding. We'd also like to take best practice in one part of the sector and look at how we might be able to use it in another part of the sector, and then look at building capacity amongst all of the teams that are working in the various different cultural organizations. So we have had a series of GLAM summits. We have also done a think tank, which was back in 2021. Weren't we optimistic that we could actually start planning post-pandemic? And we have a number of communities that advise us or sometimes lead us. And that would include the Indigenous Advisory Circle, which we've had in place since 2017. And there we have representatives of the First Nations, the Inuit and the Métis Nation. And in fact, they have designed our Indigenous action plan with 26 steps to move us forward in terms of reconciliation. And we have a Youth Advisory Council, which was created in 2018, and it has youth from across the country between the ages of 16 and 25. We began by doing presentations on PowerPoint and then, letting them provide comments to us. And we were driving the process. Now with both of these organizations, they drive the process and we listen to what they have to tell us. We have a stakeholders forum that has representatives from all of our national associations that relate to libraries and archives. And we work with 12 university partners from across the country, from the major research universities. And a number of those universities have been mentioned here, including, of course, the University of Toronto, the University of British Columbia, the University of Victoria, and many more. We also do have a services consultation committee where we bring in people from different interest groups that use our services. Now, what I'll say about our services currently is that with those 50,000 visits a year, the reason it's 50,000 visits a year is because we like to work expert to expert. So librarian, archivist, academic, historian, researcher, genealogist, author. Did you hear anything there about children, youth, new Canadians, people with disabilities, two-spirited LGBTQI+ community? No, you didn't. And in fact, when we first started talking about expanding who we were going to interact with, at one of our all-staff meetings, and by the way, we have 1,200 people that work at Libraries and Archives Canada, someone put their hand up and said, oh, we're going to work with new, different people. We're going to expand the users that we work with. Do you mean like we're going to go to graduate students? And I went like, no, I mean we're going to go to kids. So we are in the midst of an evolution on that. Now, we do work with many different communities across Canada. We do have many traditionally marginalized communities in Canada, and many of our national institutions reflect the official story, but not necessarily the lived experience. And here, of course, we could talk about the Japanese internment camps. We could talk about the head tax for Chinese people. We could talk about the treatment of the original peoples, the indigenous peoples. And so we are working with all of those communities with a major focus working with the indigenous peoples. And these are a couple of projects. Project naming is our longest standing project, and it began 20 years ago. As I mentioned, we have some 60 million photographs, and what we discovered was that we had thousands and thousands of photographs which were of people and places, but the people were never named because they were subjects. The places were never named because they had been renamed by settlers and explorers, and people assumed that they had no name, the place. So we have been working, we began with the Inuit people, and we have been working to try to put names to the faces so that every face in our collection has a name and has their own story. Kith and Kin is a project that we're doing working with the Vancouver Public Library and working with the local First Nations. We began working with the teenagers because I don't know how many of you know much about the history of Canada, but there were residential schools and children were taken away from their parents, and other people were taken during the 60s scoop where they were taken and given to white families, and they lost their culture, they lost their language, they lost their kin. And so we're working in collaboration, this is an example of one project, to try to help people trace their families, but doing it with their cultural backdrop, their spiritual approach in terms of being First Nations people. And it was so successful that we had delegations coming from other age groups saying, wait a minute, this is ageist. How come you're only letting the teenagers get into this? So we have been expanding that program with a great deal of success. So we also work with other communities because we are a country other than the original peoples. We are a country of immigrants. And so these are examples of digitization initiatives that we have funded in different communities across the country. Mennonites, Icelandic people, Germanic people, Chinese people. So we are looking at trying to ensure that they in fact can preserve their community records and their heritage. As well, we have two projects that we're working once again with the First Nations, Inuit people, and Métis Nation, where we support them in digitizing their records. We give them funding. We support them with technical support. They are their records. They own them. They hold them. It is for them to decide who can see them and who can have access to them. As Frank and I were discussing yesterday, we've really had to learn to work differently because, you know, sometimes national libraries, well, our national library likes to call people in and say, you know, here, we'll give you a presentation, you tell us what you think, we'll take it away, and we'll decide what we're going to do. That doesn't work when you're working with communities, and especially when you're working with communities of Indigenous peoples. And especially when there may be a trust issue because of the past wrongs. So you really have to look at relationships. You have to focus on relationships. And so you don't come in and do a presentation, you come in and you meet people and you get to know them and they get to know you and you share food and you share a cup of tea and you talk about your families, you talk about your history, and then you ask them what it is they want to tell you. And you develop the relationship from there. And we are early in that evolution, but it is making us very much rethink the way we consult and the way we interact with our partners and our stakeholders in our communities. So we're also doing some work on new buildings. So this is our newest building that opened on November 25th, 2022. This is the largest, probably for maybe the next 5 minutes, the largest completely automated archival facility in the world. Probably isn't anymore, but it was when it opened, I can just tell you. So this is a completely automated. We have 6 adorable robots that work in here. This is a 2-story building that's 100 feet tall. The main floor is the one where you can see the dark stripe along the bottom, which is where the people live. And the second floor is where the vaults live. And you can see the vaults are numbered chamber 1 through 6. So this building is a public-private partnership. It is the federal government of Canada's first net carbon zero building that has received LEED Gold certification. And we are very, very excited to be able to move our collections in here. So we're moving about 600,000 boxes of published materials, archival records, and films. And this is just give you a little picture because like the British Library, we do exhibits, and we've just opened a rather exciting exhibit that we're doing in collaboration with the Canadian Museum of History. And this initiative is called Unexpected: Surprising Treasures from Libraries and Archives Canada, and it's in one of the main exhibit halls at the Canadian Museum of History. And it's all about wonders, secrets, and mysteries. So if you want to learn about UFOs in Canada, this is a place to come. We also have treasure maps. So, you know, if you're a treasure hunter, you can come and try to, you know, figure out the clues. We have all kinds of different materials that all have, you look at them and you think it's one thing, and then you look more closely and you go, whoa, wait a minute, there's a backstory to this. So we're quite excited to be able to engage maybe with a different demographic once again in terms of this kind of collaboration. And we're also, as I mentioned, really kind of fixated on democracy. We've talked about misinformation, the importance of access to information. And we're working in collaboration with major Canadian universities and with the Internet Archive on Democracy's Library to try to ensure that, in fact, the municipal, provincial, and federal and territorial government records don't disappear over time, and that they are accessible to people across our country and to people around the world. So, how am I doing for time? Okay, so this is our next new building, and I was thinking, from all the presentations we've had, let's plan a road trip. I think we might start here in 2025 so that we can see your new southern building, and then we can move along, and we need to go to, I think, Estonia, we need to go to Poland, we need to go. How are you doing, Broly, on that building? Okay, so this is a building. We are going to be moving out of our iconic building next door to the Supreme Court of Canada, and we're moving in with a public library. So Ottawa Public Library is the 4th largest public library in Canada, and this building is, we think, the most consulted public building in terms of the design. And the consultations changed the design. So the architectural firm The partners, the City of Ottawa, Libraries and Archives Canada, and the Ottawa Public Library, were present at every consultation. We interacted with 7,000 individuals. We did a local campaign and a national campaign, and then we did a completely separate consultation directly with Kitigan-Zibi and Pikwaktagan, the two local communities that are the Anishinaabe host nation. And then we consulted nationally with Indigenous peoples, and this is the result. So one of the reasons we have to transform ourselves is because we're going from that 50,000 visits a year to 1.7 million. And it's a little different service model, can I say. So just to give you a little bit of a look, we're on one side, the public library's on the other side, but then we each have spaces in each other's sides. And we have areas that are being designed by our Indigenous partners. We are able to smudge anywhere in this building and be able to hold appropriate ceremony. And we have a lot of shared spaces. Theater, we're doing a joint genealogy center that'll help people discover about their families. And we're hoping that we'll get exposure to a whole different audience. So we're very, very excited about that. And we are integrating trilingual signage, so Anishinaabe Mem, English, and French. And we will be developing programming jointly. And our public art, we always invest in public art in our buildings in Canada. And so half of the investment is going to a generic public art where anybody can compete, and half is being overseen by an Indigenous curator, and we're very excited about that. So we'd love to see you in 2026 when this building will be opening. And at this moment, I would just like to two brief things. I'd like to say, obviously, congratulations on your 90th anniversary. What a momentous time for the National Central Library. I'd also like to say, Director General, what an incredible symposium that you created as one way to celebrate this. I think it's been a fabulous 2 days, and I think everyone who's been here has had many thought-provoking moments and is looking forward to connecting with the various speakers and being able to follow up. And I'd also like to say how proud you must be of your team. I think you have an incredible team here. The technology, the logistics, the MC, the tech guys, the simultaneous interpretation yesterday. So just thank you all so much. It's been such a fabulous, fabulous time. So I do have the small token that I would like to leave with you. And this is a reproduction of a Haida artist, one of our important First Nations. So, thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much. Wonderful.
Thank you, Ms. Wire, for your wonderful speech and for sharing with us the unique experience of the Library and Archives Canada. As the saying goes, bad libraries build collections, good libraries build services, great libraries build communities. Libraries and archives are in the midst of a significant shift that brings new opportunity for community engagement. We transform, therefore we are. The pandemic has reminded us that we cannot take everything for granted. We always need to be thinking ahead and preparing for the future. In this age of continuous updates and always-on technologies, when people and culture recreate and refresh, a renaissance can be the result. In a changing century and uncertain age, we librarians forge ahead and achieve mutual good. Stronger Together demonstrate how libraries leverage collaboration, teamwork, and technology to strive and adversity. Our strength lies in a strong relationship we have together. Libraries change the world by creating new values for integrated development. As we embark on this amazing journey, let us go hand in hand. We are stronger when we are together. Together, we discover, understand, connect, and become stronger. Thank you all for attending this session and for your contribution to this conference. Let us continue to work together and make a difference in our communities and the world. Thank you.
Thank you to our presenter and chair. Now, before we announce the closing of the symposium, there's another special section full of meanings. Please play the video of behind the scenes clips of this conference. Now, please join me in welcome our Director General, Dr. Zeng Shuxian of the National Central Library, to deliver her closing remarks.
My colleague gave me 3 pages for closing, but I will show them, show it. Our distinguished guest, distinguished speaker, and our guests from all parts of Taiwan, and also moderator, presenter, and our staff. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for attending this symposium. This symposium held in celebration of National Central Library anniversary. We are very blessed that the pandemic is lessening worldwide. It has been some time since we have been able to have a face-to-face conference in Taiwan, where fellow librarians can gather here. What has made this gathering even more special is the fact that many of you have traveled great distance to be here in the celebration National Central Library's 90th anniversary together. This symposium is not only celebrating the founding and the development of National Central Library, but also hopes to share a vista of library development and the sustainable operation in Taiwan with the world. We are very grateful for the presence of the directors and the deputy directors from 8 national libraries in Europe, Asia, and North America. And they are willing to share achievements in library services and quintessence of research findings from their respective libraries in recent years. This has enhanced the professional collaboration and the international exchange of all in attendance. I firmly believe that after hearing all the talk over the last day and a half, you all have learned much and are filled with new ideas. Each Director General shared invaluable insights and experiences, and in each section, the service mentality of robust development, innovation, and sustainability was highlighted. This has greatly benefited library staff, students, and scholars from Taiwan that were in attendance. We are very moved and filled with admiration by the investment of libraries around the world in reader services. We believe that librarians will not only devote themselves to their profession, but also view themselves as protectors, disseminators, and creators of knowledge and culture in the future. They will create a brand new vision for library services and promote the long-term development of human culture. With research from Taiwan being disseminated around the world, it gives the world a glimpse of Taiwan. I would like to thank our distinguished guests once again for being here. I hope that in future we can continue interacting and deepen our collaboration, thus establishing a new milestone in post-pandemic library services. Lastly, may each of our guests here today enjoy health and success, and may each of the libraries you lead and serve be very prosperous. Thank you very much. 在这边也要特别感谢台湾的同道，不管是来参加2天都参加的学者专家，还有很多来自公共图书馆、专门图书馆，以及大学图书馆的同道，2天持续参加，一起在这边跟我们庆祝国家图书馆90周年的馆庆，也聆听这么多的馆长来自8个国家的馆长，真的是非常不容易。因为有各位的参与，共同成就了这一场非常成功的国际研讨会。非常谢谢大家，谢谢。
In order to express our gratitude to the esteemed guest speakers who come from far-off countries, we indeed have prepared a certificate of appreciation for you. Please accept it as well as the gift as a souvenir of this unusual occasion. Firstly, in alphabetical order by your last name, of course. We invite Director General Jana Andreso, please come to the stage. Director General Thomas Folting, Director General Ronaldas Gudauskas, and Sir Rolly Keating to the stage. Thank you, Director General Andreso. Thank you, Director General Folting. Thank you, Dr. Gudauskas. Thank you, Sir Keating. Now we'll have a group photo, small group photos later. Thank you. Secondly, we invite Deputy Director Yulia Konopka-Zoniezuk, Chief Executive Officer Huang Zipeng, Director General Frank Scholz, and librarian and archivist Leslie Weir. Thank you, Deputy Director Konopka Zoniecki. Thank you, Mr. Huang. Thank you, Director General Scholz. Thank you, Mrs. Weir. Now, the same, we will have a small group photo together. To all our friends and colleagues here today, we extend our heartfelt gratitude for your participation in our celebratory symposium and share this joy with us. We hope to see you more often at our library in the future. For our invited guests, please follow our steps to conference room 188 like yesterday for your lunch. For the rest of our participants, please check the back of your name tag for instruction of your lunch. Thank you and goodbye. 各位亲爱的与会来宾，请遵照您的名牌背面指示到您的用餐地点。